why is there so much criticism on Brandon Sanderson's latest fantasy novel? And is there something that I can learn from this whole situation for my own book? Hey, I'm Father Roderick. I'm a priest, and I'm writing my first fantasy novel. And I love to share with you what I learn along the way. Now, if you've watched my other videos, you know that I'm a huge fan of Brandon Sanderson, even though I'm quite a novice fan. I have only read the Mistborn trilogy and I think 2 smaller novellas. So I still have to start reading the whole Way of the Kings saga, and it's been very daunting to see that those books are like 600, 700 pages. I haven't even finished reading Wheel of Time, so I'm not sure if I'm ready for this, but I do follow Brandon Sanderson online. I love the courses that he recorded for his students, and I've learned a lot from him. And he is right now, you know, what many consider like the golden standard of how to do like a fantasy for a broad audience. And it seemed for a while that Brandon Sanderson couldn't do wrong. However, he has just released a new novel, and for the first time, at least as far as I know, he's getting quite a bit of pushback from even his most avid fans. And from what I gathered, it is mostly because there is a shift of tone. The language has changed a little bit. It feels more modern, and according to some, it's too modern. And then there are some other concessions that people think, part of his audience, of course, not everyone, they think that he's too much going with what is popular right now or what is trending in society. And I even heard someone say in my comments on my channel that Brandon Sanderson has gone woke, and I'm out. I will stop reading. The thing is, what I think is happening is that what you see is that Brandon Sanderson is not some kind of abstract writer who writes beyond space and time. Just like you and me, he's a human being. He lives in a society, in a culture that is changing, that is evolving all the time. And as a writer, he reflects the reality in which he writes. And thankfully so, because this is not only a huge source of inspiration, but it also determines the relevance of his books. Even books like The Lord of the Rings, The Wheel of Time, they all contain lots and lots of elements that were influenced, if not determined, by the situation. Tolkien himself admitted this. And he said that in his books, a lot of his own experience during World War I are extremely present. It doesn't mean that his books are an allegory of a political situation, but you cannot truly understand why he wrote the story the way he did without taking into account the personal experience that he went through as a young man during World War I. This is incredibly important to understand, because I see that the criticism on modern storytelling often falls into this trap of thinking that if books become too, and then it's called political, then they're no longer valid or anything, or you should stop reading them. I think that a lot of the criticism that is now directed towards Brandon Sanderson, accusing him of being woke, I hate that word, by the way, is probably not about Sanderson or his books. It is a reaction to changes in our cultural landscape that some people experience as a threat to the values that they honor and that they want to be the norm in society. And if your favorite writer all of a sudden does no longer use that same normative framework that you think should be the norm in society, then that feels like a betrayal. You feel like, okay, so this book is no longer for us. I think I'm stuck. This was not a path. Okay, I'll go back. So I think that's what is going on. What can I learn as an author? Well, the first thing is, as I hope you understand this, even though I'm a Catholic priest and my world is has a lot of norms and a lot of ideals about what society should look like, I also am very acutely aware that I'm always talking to an audience that does not share my values, that does not live in the same way as I live. And you know what? That is fine, in a sense that I'm always looking at St. Paul as an example, who was called the Apostle of the Gentiles, in the sense that he never ran away from an open dialogue with people that were different from him. And he shared his stories, he shared what he thought was important, knowing very well that actually he too was a convert. He had made a huge change in his life, and I think that made him much more open to people that make different choices, have a different worldview. And instead of seeing that as something that would threaten him or anger him, he saw that as something that challenged him to enter into a dialogue and to, let me jump over this mud here. But it made the conversation richer. So I need to think about how my world, because my story takes place in the 6th century medieval Ireland monastic life. Can I make that inclusive in a way that it not only reflects the world in which my story is situated, but also that my readers, wherever they are in the world and whatever their background is, kind of feel that this story is also about them. Food for thought. What do you think? Let me know in the comments, and thanks for watching. See you tomorrow.